Alrighty, so let's get started because we're on time. Um, right, so hello. This talk is all about the future, which is another way of saying none of what I'm going to be presenting today actually exists right now. Sorry about that. So Amgen already previewed some of the amazing things that we're going to be working on this year during the keynote, but let's dive a little bit deeper into some of the tools that are going to be most relevant to all the builders in the audience. We're opening up a little bit about our long-term roadmap for this year, and you'll get to know some of the new tools that you can expect to use very soon. So I'll be going to do my very best trying to peek at the chat every now and then, and we'll try to stop for Q&A every once in a while. But if I don't get time to do that, I'll come around to answering all of your questions at the end. So please hang tight and enjoy the show. So first of all, real quick, who's this person here? My name is Luis Hector Chavez, and I am the lead platform engineer at Replit. I've been with the company about for a year and a half, and the platform team is responsible for everything that happens behind the curtains, making sure that Repls can run, that all of your files are there when you need them, that the software is installed, that the hosting experience works great, and most of the components that can be used to build amazing software, all of those things are part of the platform that we build, and all of those things fall into the responsibility of the platform team. And one more little tangent before we dive into the really interesting part of the talk. I mentioned Replspace in the beginning. So what does Replspace even mean? So we actually made up the term. Let's go and look a little bit into operating systems. In operating systems, the memory is divided into two parts, kernel space and user space. Kernel space is where the kernel executes and provides its services. Services is a very encompassing term for this. The kernel can access all of the memory and the hardware directly. It doesn't need any permissions. It can just go to the GPU and GPU do this thing. But it asks the processor, the CPU, to ensure that all of the user's applications cannot access the kernel's memory directly, or each other application memory for that matter. This sounds like a restriction, but it's not quite a restriction. In exchange, the kernel protects applications from messing with each other, and it also provides a nice interface to access the real hardware. So what does this nice interface even mean? Let's go to an example, disks. If you think about what a disk is, they're almost essentially just huge arrays of bytes. But an array of bytes are kind of relatively useless because if you think about it, if you want to store an image, where do you even store it? In the middle-ish, at the beginning? What happens if there's something already there? So the kernel creates a structure out of this huge array of bytes and presents the disk as files and directories. Same thing with all the other hardware resources. It would be very, very messy if all applications tried to draw to the monitor directly. You would just get random pixels here and there. Plus, applications would need to know what kind of GPU the machine is using, and also the resolution of the monitor, and so many other things. There's just too many details to keep track of. So the kernel provides this very nice, there is a monitor. There is a screen in which you can draw things and let applications work with this high-level view of the world. Now, applications. Enter user space. User space is everything that you can do on your computer without modifying the kernel and rolling your own operating system. Well, this sounds fun. It is very time-consuming and very hard. If you mess up with your kernel, and if you make a mistake, your whole computer crashes. So the kernel has an interface, we call it an interface, that the user space applications can communicate with. This is the system call interface. The system call interface uses the abstractions laid out by the kernel to iron out differences in the underlying hardware and provide a uniform view of the resources available to the machine. This lets you do mostly everything. And by mostly, I mean everything that is not in kernel space. So every time you interact with any computer, you're actually interacting with an application user space. So this doesn't feel like much of a restriction. It's just a good way of having certain boundaries in place so that applications cannot crash the whole machine if they start misbehaving. Maybe they try to access a file that is not there. What happens? Well, the application crashes, but the machine keeps running. So you can just restart your application and nothing happens. They also don't need to care about the hardware. As I mentioned before, you can have multiple different GPUs, and applications don't need to reason about like what particular GPU you're using. Of course, sometimes they will need to care about it. In the case of GPUs, if you are running a game that is optimized for one particular, let's say, NVIDIA GPUs, they can ask the kernel for this information, and the kernel will let them drive the GPU directly. So it's a little bit of a porous abstraction. All right, that's kernel space and user space. What about Replspace? So let's define Replspace as something very analogous to user space, which is everything you can do on a REPL is Replspace. Just to give you some examples, file system and shell are part of the Replspace. When you create an HTTP server, that is running in Replspace. When you install arbitrary packages from Nix, pip, npm, or whatever, all those run in Replspace, and also graphics and audio capabilities. When we build internal tools to Replits, we try to have them live in Replspace. This is great in the spirit of dogfooding, because every now and then, it lets us discover some missing features. Every time we discover that something is missing or is blocking somebody, we make the Replspace more powerful. Anything that we can build in Replspace, that means that you can all build in Replspace too. So that is why we care so much about this, because it's a good place to build stuff, and it empowers you all. All right, so no questions so far. That small tangent out of the way. So let's talk about the main topic for today, the roadmap for the future. Please note, this list is not ordered by date, so it's not going to paint a picture of what's coming when. But we still want to ship all of these things as soon as possible, since we know you all are going to build amazing things in Replspace with the shiny new features. All right, so let's get started. First of all, Geo. This is like how we refer to the project of distributing, making Repl faster around the world. So as Amjad mentioned in the keynote, the speed of light is a fundamental speed limit. It's literally the fastest thing there is in the universe. Yet, Repl's going halfway around the world is still going to take a very noticeable amount of time. Right now, we only have servers in the United States. For other folks in the continent of the US, this is great. We get a very, very nice and responsive service. Only 48 milliseconds, that's nothing. But take New Delhi in India. All the network round trips take 5 times as longer. That's a lot. This is enough to be very annoying and even maybe a deal breaker for some of you. As Amjad mentioned in the keynote, trying to interact with the console is borderline unbearable. So we're building a lot of internal infrastructure that will make this experience significantly faster. We're going to have way more servers around the world so that Repls can run closer to where they are needed the most. This means that for most people, Repls are going to be noticeably faster and more responsive. The platform team of Replit has this mantra of always giving false escape hatches. So we know that sometimes we won't get the decision of where you want to run your Repls right in the first try. So we're also going to let you choose in which continents you want your Repls to run. You'll have the flexibility to choose a faster experience for you or your users on a Repl by Repl basis. So for example, let's say that you live in Spain, but most of your users live in Latin America. So it may make sense to move your best app over in Latin America, so your users get a much faster experience. Coding Cactus, Replit had set up servers in the UK and India, but we had to revert that change because it was getting a bad interaction in the worst case. So this is going to be a second attempt at doing that. For now, we'll still crunching the numbers to determine exactly what geographic locations will make the most sense for everybody. But ideally, we want to span all continents. As soon as we do that, we will make that list of where we are going to be running servers available to you all. Things are still in flux. and we'll share a lot of the juicy technical details about how we achieve this. Be sure to check out our blog when we announce this around the fall. So around the fall, all of your REPLs will be faster. There's not a lot of which I can demo right now, except REPL's faster. Yay, that's good. Another crown favorite, being able to customize Replit is currently the most requested feature. Oh, wait, there's a Q&A. Where will the servers go? For Brandon, we're still determining the list of locations. We will share the exact list of locations later during the fall. Right, themes, yes, themes. Being able to customize Replit is the most requested feature right now. During last Halloween, we shipped a spooky theme, mostly as a joke, but it turned out it was extremely well received, surpassing even our wildest expectations. So, as promised during the keynote, creating a custom theme is going to be an extremely easy process. It's just going to be creating a new file in the workspace. The workspace will, of course, have an extremely nice and sleek interface to edit how the theme looks to make the editing experience great. But at the end of the day, this is just going to be a file in REPL. So it's going to have all the same nice properties that other REPLs have. It's going to be forkable, it's going to be searchable, it's going to be remixable, shareable with other folks. And since you're all builders, we're also going to share the specification of this file once we release a feature. What does that mean? It means that you'll be able to build tools to generate this file programmatically if you choose to make it more dynamic. So we're expecting that you'll come up with creative themes and tooling around it and surprise us once more. For the longest time, we've offered a maximum of 512 megabytes worth of disk for rebels, 1 full gigabyte for hackers. Despite having a lot of feedback about the fact that this is insufficient for some folks, we have not yet been able to increase this due to some long-standing limitations in our infrastructure. Quick interruption, Jace Billingsley. Will the themes be made in a Replit theme file? Yes. Moving on to disks. The main reason why we limit disk sizes is that once a REPL starts, it needs to fetch a snapshot of the contents of the disk. Lincoln gave some very nice technical details about disks in the session about how to burn your REPLs, just in case you're interested in knowing more about how this works behind the covers. So, if the disk is very large, it's going to take a long time to fetch from storage. And that ends up being a poor experience for sufficiently large disks. Even like right now that we have 1 gigabyte disks, it takes a somewhat noticeable amount of time. But if we bumped it up to 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabytes, this process would like just time out. We tried it at one time, didn't work out. But at long last, we now have a plan to make it possible for hackers to have larger disks on REPLs. Not only that, this plan also has a very nice side effect of making most REPLs also experience faster load times. So we're going to remove one blocker for most people, and also just happens that it's going to make the experience better for everybody else. Hooray! The team is very excited about how we're going to pull this off, and the blog post is going to explain this at length. So stay tuned for this sometime later this year when we'll be showing up the timeline. Q&A. Would you have to retype a Replit theme for every single Replit you make, or will it be something like a special REPL? This is still TBD. Most likely it's going to just be a single REPL that you can apply your changes globally. We will definitely make sure to publish like the underlying technical details of how themes are going to work. Thanks, Golden Cat, for that question. When are we going to get blog posts in Espanol too? You know what? Probably soon. I've been meaning to be more active in Spanish-speaking circles. So yeah, why not? I'm going to commit right now to publish the next blog post in both English and Spanish. How about that? All right, I see some excitement from the chat. When you're problem solving, do you think in Spanish or English? mostly in English. But when I just graduated from school, it was mostly in Spanish. So it has been gradually changing from Spanish to English and now to Rust. Next announcement, Replit native notebooks. If any of you have ever used Jupyter, you're probably already familiar with the concept of notebooks. These are interactive development environments that interleave text, code, and interactive outputs. Notebooks are used a lot in data science and machine learning environments, but it is also very useful in education environments and also to learn due to the very short feedback loop. You can be changing your code and just like run a button or press a key combination. And instead of having to run all your code, it just runs a very small snippet of your code. So that makes it a lot faster to know what a certain bit of the code is going to do. Replit is already a full-fledged editor in computer environment. So it just makes sense to expose coding and the output of your code in a more ergonomic fashion. We played a little bit of with this idea, and this particular screenshot came from an extremely quick proof of concept of Replit native notebooks that some engineers made during a company-wide hackathon earlier this year. And by the way, this was the first week for one of the engineers involved. So props for them to diving right into the hard problems. Of course, this is not by any means a polished UI. So we're going to adjust how it looks, and we're going to also share the technical details about how you can customize. Like right now, it shows that it's running Python. But what if you want to run some other languages like Rust or like Go or like JavaScript? These are in the Jupyter terminology. These are called kernels. They're little snippets of code that are able to run other snippets of code in a specific language. So we are going to publish ways in which you can create custom kernels, which also kind of means that if you create your own kernel, you can create something for a programming language you create. So instead of having to create like a whole programming environment just for your own language, you can create a kernel and you can run a snippet of code with your kernel. This also means that if you have a custom library to do something very creative, you can also create that as a kernel. So we will provide the guidelines and the documentation of how to create your custom kernels. And it's going to be very cool because all of them are going to be powered by Next, which means that most languages will be available mostly out of the box. Something else. Right now, Repls can create HTTP servers. This is currently the only way to achieve communication with the outer world. This works great for most cases, but it's not quite the most ergonomic way to have your Repls talk to each other. We already handle encryption to HTTPS, but in order to have a real service between Repls, that's not enough. You still need to do things like authentication, authorization. Authentication means knowing who is calling you, and authorization means knowing if that person that is calling you is actually capable of doing that call. Which means if you go to your bank, you say, oh, I am Mr. Luis Chavez, and I want to withdraw like $1 million. And they're going to say, well, you don't have $1 million. You're not authorized to make that withdrawal. And also maybe discovery of your application, because not everybody is going to necessarily know that you have an application out there in the internet. This is further complicated if you want other folks to use your application in a programmatic fashion. Programmatic fashion means you want other Repls to be able to call you Repl. You need to now create a formal API and bundle that together with documentation and publish that too. That's just so much work. So we want to build a system where building Repl to Repl communication is extremely easy and feels Replit native. All you need to do is declare what methods your server provides and to interface for those methods in an interface definition language, which is just a little programming languages thing, not unlike the ones that other tools like GraphQL or Swagger or OpenAPI use. So once you have that definition, we can generate most of the code needed to get your service up and running in no time. The comments in the definition can also serve as documentation. So there's no need to separate what the methods are and the documentation for those methods. It's all going to be a single bundle. We will also handle encryption, just like we do today, but we also want to handle authentication and even some parameter validation behind the scenes, which means you need to code less to get something up and running. Also, to make service discovery easier, we're also going to create libraries that make it extremely easy to know what other Replits provide and what arguments they expect. This will also work together with our call intelligence so that whoever wants to call your service can have the documentation needed at the moment they need it the most, which is when they're running their client against your service. We promise that this is going to be very, very cool. But here's like a very representative snapshot of one of the interface definition languages that one of our engineers did earlier this year. More stuff, external devices / Internet of Things. Something else that comes up every now and then is the fact that it is very hard to develop on some external devices if you don't have a full-fledged computer available. A growing number of Replit users connect through the mobile devices, for example. Physical computers like Raspberry Pi are ubiquitous and inexpensive and can unlock all sorts of new use cases. For example, exposing sensors, lights, cameras, and more to Replits. We still haven't decided exactly how or when we're going to build support for external devices, but we're experimenting with this. And I can share proof of concept that some engineers at Replit built in a week in the same company-wide hackathon as with the notebook example I gave before. What this is doing, it is connecting to Raspberry Pi over the internet and running a small .NET console application on it. Everything being able to interact with it, even without living Replit. Something else that comes up every now and then is the fact that we want Replit to be your go-to destination for hosting your apps. We give every single REPL a custom .repl.co address. But we also know that some of you want to link a custom domain to Replit because they're like super fancy. And we support that too, but with one small exception. Due to technical limitations, we cannot yet link what is called a root or apex domain. So currently, when you want to link a domain, we use something called a CNAME record in the system that helps find websites online. This is the Domain Network System, or DNS. DNS has a limitation that it does not allow CNAME records to be placed on the root or apex of a domain. So for example, e.mysite.fun is currently supported, but mysite.fun is not supported. You cannot do this right now. Okay, so rounding up the list of things that we're announcing today is being able to support this very thing. Recently, and by recently I mean like literally in the last hour or two, we finalized the very last details on a design that we've been working on for months to finally allow you to link your whole domain to Repl using an ADNS record. You'll finally be able to show off your favorite application using a fancy domain name. So even though this is still hot off the presses, we expect to launch this very soon. Okay, I lied. There's one more thing. One more thing before I open the floor for general questions. We've seen that the community is eager to customize Replit. This was evident with the overwhelming feedback from teams. But beyond changing how the workspace looks like, there's always a desire to change what the workspace does. Here's a couple of examples. When we launch applications, one developer, Ironclad Dev, created Replitverse as an extension of how apps worked in Replit. They were not very happy with how apps worked, so they created a different implementation. Shout out to Ironclad Dev. A couple of weeks ago, we discovered that a group of loyal Replers, CoderMan51, Spid, Connor, and Show, Snow, got together and built a custom shell around Replit with console support at twitter.com/FusionCL. So we're super excited about the creativity of what the community has done, even without being given access to the necessary tools like API, like formal API or like documentation to do this. That's the true hacker culture. So going forward, we want to make all of your lives easier and ours as well by making this process official. We still don't know exactly when or how we're going to build this, or even how much of the platform we're going to make extensible. But for sure, we will be reaching out to you, the community, to get your input so that we build the right thing that makes sense for all of you. This is something I've somewhat danced around in some of the previous slides. Eagle-eyed viewers might have spotted an extension section in a previous screenshot. For the time being, we are like 100% sure that we want to allow extending our code editor, CodeBearer. So this is a teaser of what's to come this year. This is a small video that was published last year, and we're very, very close to making it a reality. All right, that was it. I'm not joking this time. Parting words. That's it. We want Replit to be the platform for the next billion software developers. And in order to do that, we need Replit and the Replspace to be extremely powerful. We're going to keep pushing the boundary of what can be done in Replspace. We also realize that we cannot achieve that goal alone. So we will be relying on all of you to build a vibrant community by building tools that you too can help us build in the future. And with that, I open the floor for questions. Let's see if there's any questions in the chat. There's nothing on the Q&A. Excited for the future, yeah. The questions, comments about what the future looks like. Aha, Q&A. Okay, Fede, as you build new features and grant more access, any concerns about malicious actors? Yeah. Exploiting hosts into your apples. Yes. Right now, we are trying to hire our very first security engineer. We're also in talks with an external security company called Atacora. And the idea is that they'll help us build a much more powerful anti-abuse system so that we can sleep better at night without having to worry too much about malicious actors. This is going to be an ongoing concern. So we're going to do our best to try to limit that. Israel, what language would extensions be written in? TBD. Most likely this is going to be JavaScript, just because it's so easier to get something working for that. Coding Cactus, what is the main thing linking? You can have subdomains or something. So right now there's a way to get your, some DNS providers allow you to link Apex domains. Not all of them though. So this is going to open up for linking your custom domains for every single DNS provider. Okay. Would Replit have a community package distributor? Example, I want to publish a Python package and people will be able to install through Replit packages. We haven't given too much thought about this. For now, I think we want to err on the side of making sure that the packages are like standard-ish. So if you want to publish a Python package, we most likely want you to publish it to PyPy just because it will work with the rest of the community. But this is a good idea. We'll maybe consider it. Who knows? Maybe yeah, it'll even materialize at some point. Let's see. Any plans to make the Spot and Jake? Any plans to make this entire front end an extension, kind of how like CodeMirror works, so we can replace anything? I don't know if we're going to make the entire front end extendable. We're going to start slow. We're going to start just giving access to a few things and then opening that up. Details TBD. What else? With Repl to Repl communications, with Repl to Repl communications coming up, any ideas how to go host CTFs? Oh, yes. That's a very great idea. We need to think about that because Replit has some security features. So for CTFs, you probably want to relax those things a little bit. So TBD. Klondike. Ironclad said a similar question, but we'll compile it if it comes to Replit. The AI talks during RepelCon may answer some of these questions, Klondike. Do I have more time? Do you think extensions will allow Replit to ship features faster to Spot and Dig? Probably yes. we're only 50 people. You folks are like thousands, so probably yes. Okay, 1:30. Time's up. Thank you so very much for attending this talk. If you want to, oh snap. Well, there's supposed to be a URL here. Have it here in the chat. Bye.